Oh man,
Welcome to Controversial and Deep Biblical Breakdown Series, sponsored by the Scorn Black Man Podcast. I'm your host, Zadok Israel, aka HILLTOPSTROPHIC. Y'all already know what it is. And the good brother YISRAYL is back with another headbanger. Seems like he the only one that's bringing these controversial and deep biblical breakdown series. He's a deep scholar, 20-something years of studying and translating from the Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic and Latin over to English for us Israelites and for the community, for the nation. So let's give the brother a listening ear. This week's topic, controversial and deep biblical breakdown series, is going to be called The Sacred Name of Yah and the Misery of Israel in Babylon, part 2. So the good brother needs no introduction. Shout out to the good brother Ben Dawid. You know he's coming with that pain. Very good scholar brother himself. And good brother YISRAYL. I know he's going to attack the sacred name of Yah first. And so, good brother YISRAYL, the floor is yours, my brother.
all right. Shalom, my brothers. Good evening. And first and foremost, praise y'all for bringing us together for another segment. And I was just gonna briefly expound on the sacred name Yah, just briefly, just to clarify it in the scriptures. And then I'm gonna continue with the miseries of Israel, because it is here, over here, that it is the people of Israel that's suffering. And because of that, there must be a recompense. And the recompense will come about through Israel and his worthy. And the scriptures continually talk about Israel and his worthy. But however, to bring you up to par and catch you up, the podcast that has been presented has been giving you a Hebrew history, as well as its connection with Masonry and the lodges, because the lodges have always been a part of the Hebrew peoples. So now I would like to really give you, after the sacred name, I would like to give you a more overview of what I've already brought past in the podcast, and bring some more oracles that I rehearsed earlier, just to refresh your memory. So then you can have a better understanding of what I have already presented and will present after this sacred name. And I'm going to go ahead and get into that in this sacred name. And like I say, I'll be brief with it. And I'll start in Exodus chapter 3, verse 15. And Yah said moreover to Moses, you shall say unto the chiefs of Israel, Yah, the sovereign of your forefathers, the sovereign of Abraham, the sovereign of Isaac, and the sovereign of Jacob, have sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial through all generations. Again, Exodus 6, verse 2 through 3. It is written, and Yah spake to Moses and said to him, I am Yah, and I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob with the charge to desolate the adversary utterly. And by my name Yah was I surely known to them. Also, briefly concerning the name Yah, in Exodus 31:18. Well, first let me recite Exodus 20, verses 1 through 3. And it says, and Yah spake all these words, saying, I am Yah thy sovereign, which have brought you from the land of Egypt, from among the families that enslaved. You shall regard no strange deities as me. And I hear a lot when people they'll refer the term or the heathen deity, the Lord, as if he's referring to Yah, or God as if he's referring to Yah. But as I did present earlier in another podcast, El, which is translated God, and Baal, which are translated Lord, are both heathen deities of the Canaanites. And this is it's a biblical reference, but I'll use it for this sake before I get into the law and to the prophets. And this is in the New American Bible Revised Edition, copyright 2011. Page 26 study guide states, in Hebrew, El Elyon, one of several El names for God in Genesis. All the sources except the Yahwehs used El as the proper name for God used by the ancestors. The ancestors recognized this God as their own when they encountered him, that is El, in their journeys and in the shrines they found in Canaan. Also, in the World Book Encyclopedia, copyright 2005, page 97 states, Canaanites. The chief Canaanite gods were El, a creator god, and Baal, a storm god. Again, in the New American Bible Revised Edition, copyright 2011, page 856 study guide states, God, not Elohim, the common word for God, but El, the name of the head of the pantheon in Canaanite mythology, a God who was early identified with the Lord in Israelite thought. In the New Strong's Complete Dictionary of Bible Words, copyright 1996, for word 410 reads, El is shortened from word 352, meaning strength. That's an adjective mighty, especially the Almighty, but used also of any deity. And this word means God, goodly, great, and also idols, among other things. And it says to compare names that end in EL. So we know that these terms, God and the Lord, or heathen names for their deities. In Psalm 68, verse 4, it says, sing unto Yah, sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Yah, and rejoice before him. Isaiah 42:8, it is written, I am Yah, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. In the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 6-10, it is written, young husbandmen likewise desire to be circumspect in conjunction with understanding, and all things showing thyself a pattern of good works, and doctrine showing uncorruptness, gravity, and sincerity, a complete word that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the perverse kindred may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you. Exhort husbandmen to be obedient to their own masters, and to please them well in all things, not presuming to prosper, not to embezzle, but showing all good fidelity, that they may put in proper order the doctrine of Yah, our Savior, in all things. So we see that it is Yah who is our Savior. And we know that Proverbs chapter 4, verses 1-2, we learn that it is the doctrine of Yah which we ought to teach. And that doctrine is the law. Solomon says, I give you good doctrine, forsake you not my law. So the law is the doctrine. The law also is the word, and the word is the truth. In St. John chapter 17, verse 17, Yahshua says, sanctify them by thy truth. Thy word is the truth. In Psalms 119, verses 142, it is written, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Therefore, we know that the word of Yah and the law of Yah is his doctrine in which we must live. And it is the law and the testimony of the prophets that confirm his word. Now, with that, I would like to move on and continue with the miseries of Israel. And before I say that, I would like to remind the upright and circumspect. This is 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 and verses 13 through 17. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and a holy patrimony, a special assemblage, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of ignorance into his hidden wisdom. Submit yourselves to every ordinance of the patrimony by God's command, whether it be to take counsel as to excel, or to superintend, as unto them that are ordained by him to make reconciliation, to desolate evil, and to the praise of them that maintain to stand perpendicular. For so is the will of Yah, that with understanding thoroughly, you may put to silence the ignorance of the foolish husbandman, as free, and not using your mastery as a cloak for maliciousness, but as a minister of Yah. Honor all chiefs, love the brotherhood, revere Yah, honor the king. Now, with that being said, I would like to just expound on a few more scriptures that will actually exalt the name of Yah and condemn these names that we have been accustomed to use. And even in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad testifies that it is the word of God that we should uphold and live by. This is Surah 6, Hayat 115. Perfect is the word of thy sovereign in truth and justice. There is not that can change his words. He is the hearer, the knower. Surah 18, Hayat 27. And recite that which has been revealed to you of the scripture of thy sovereign. There is none who can change his words, and you will find no refuge besides him. This is Jeremiah 23, verses 25 to 27. And this is dealing with the Canaanite deity Baal, which is translated the Lord. It says, I have heard what the prophets declare, that prophesies lies concerning my name, saying, I have dreamed. I have dreamed. How long will this be in the mind of the prophets that prophesy lies? Moreover, they are the prophets of the deceit of their own understanding, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every husbandman with his kindred man, as thy forefathers have forgotten my name for the Lord. This is Zephaniah, verses 4 through 5. Zephaniah chapter 1, 4 through 5. Also, I will also stretch out my ministry upon Judah and upon all the lodges of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of the Lord from this place, and the work of the idolatrous priests with the princes, and them that worship the luminaries of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcolm. 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 9, 26 through 27, and verse 40. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel to Mount Carmel, and the prophets of the Lord, 450, and the prophets of Asherah, 400, which eat from Jezebel's tablet. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of the Lord from morning even until noon, saying, O Lord, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. And they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Leah mocked them and said, Cry aloud, for he is the Almighty. Either he is talking, or he is withdrawn to a private place, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is asleep. he must be awakened. And Gilead said to them, take the prophets of the Lord, let not one of them escape. And they seized them, and Gilead brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there. This is Surah 37, highest 117 through 118, 123 through 126. And we gave them clear scripture and showed them the right path. And certainly, Elias was those that was sent to warn. And he said unto his folk, will you not ward off evil? Will you cry unto the Lord and forsake the best creators? Yah, your sovereign, and the sovereign of your forefathers. Exodus 23 and 13. And in all things that I have said to you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of strange deities, neither let it be heard with thy word. That means incorporating the name of these deities as Yah in any message, in any doctrine that pertains to the sacred tablet, because Yah is the sacred name. And you will find that word in your Strong's Hebrew Concordance, Aramaic Concordance, and it's word 350. Now, continuing on, I would like to refresh your memory concerning the tribes of Israel, because it's these chiefs of Israel and these lodges who y'all will condemn and execute publicly. Like I said, and I have more oracles to present tonight. And this is Genesis chapter 49, verses 1 through 28. And Yaqub proclaimed an assembly among his sons and commanded, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the future time. Consecrate yourselves at once and be obedient, you sons of Yaqub, and listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my chief, and the overseer of my builders, the honorable man to desolate the proud and raise up likewise the worthy. Concerning those being filled with drink abundantly, you shall not excel. On account you entered in unto thy patrimony's lodge. Therein you defiled it. They are condemned to suffer because of my lodge. Simeon and Levi are chiefs. That which pertaineth of the unrighteous are in their lodges. O my nobles, worship you not with their necromancers. Concerning their solemn assembly, my nobles, be not you joined. For in their indignation they profaned the worthy, and in their self-will they made a perverted mason. Cursed be their mind, for it is impudent, and their zeal, for it is violent. I will disannul them with the supplanter, and remove them from having power as a prince. Judah, you are he whom thy kindred shall revere. Thy ministry shall be for the redeemed of thine builders. Thy patrimony's kindred shall bow down before you. Judah is committed to purge the assembly. From among the advanced, my son, you are exalted up. He subdued the pervert. He prostrated himself to make atonement, and he overthrew violence. Who shall rise up against him hereafter? Correction shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from among his chief men, until the Messiah appear. And to him shall be the gathering together of the patrimony, and unto him shall the gathering together of the patrimony be accomplished, binding his kindred to abstain from impurity, his chiefest builders to examine the erect. He cast out their transgressors out of the inheritance, and their treacherous men from the innocent that bear fruit. His knowledge shall be brilliant in conjunction with banqueting, and his word pure among the steadfast. Zebulun shall stand firm with the virtuous herein by all means, and he shall be among the honest that command. And his work shall be both to teach truth and to catch men. Issachar is an isolated scribe, sitting down to instruct the carpenter population. And he perceived that the lodge greatly desired good tidings, and the husbandry that it was agreeable. And he offered his help to the builder and became committed to serve with faithfulness. Dan shall rule his builders as though to desolate the kindred of Israel. Dan shall be an enchanter among the travelers. an adder in the pathway, that oppress the horseman to stay, so that his rider shall be condemned afterwards. We prefer to be circumspect by means of thy salvation, O Yah. God, life shall discomfort him, but he shall overcome with a remnant. Out of Asher, his builders shall be rich, and they shall gather together to take counsel to covet. Naphtali is a chief thoroughly prepared. He lay unto charge the great commandment. And you can also see Deuteronomy 10, verse 12 through 13, and St. Matthew 22, verses 16 through 18, as what the great commandment is. Verse 22, Joseph is a fruitful builder, the righteous seed afflicted in prison, whose work traveled among the masons. The master carpenters that are discontented vexed him and rose up against him and hated him, but his strength endured among the unrighteous. Endured among the unrighteous. And his strength and the strength of his ministry is established to continue by the ordinance of the noble patrimony of Yaqub. From this shall be the shepherd, the builder that have power as a prince, the just among the builders of thy patrimony, who shall help you, and by the Almighty, who shall bless you with the blessings of heaven above, blessings of the exceeding deep thing that the large hide, blessings herein to prophesy, and hereby have compassion. The blessings of thy patrimony have dominion over the nobles, and the blessings of my progenitors, according to the infinite order of an ancient promotion. They shall be committed to the chief man of Joseph, and on the diadem of the head of him that was separated from his kindred. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. Among the enlightened he shall accuse the robber, and in obscurity he shall surely exercise robbery. And all these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is the same that their father spake to them, and blessed them, every one according to his blessing, he blessed them. Throughout these podcasts, the focus of the podcast has been certain tribes of Israel, because and I have shown in documented history that it has been certain tribes of Israel that has always been wicked. And not only that, it was these same tribes of Israel that separated the kingdom of Israel and divided from the kingdom of Judah and the house of David until this day. Mainly the Jews that are the Levites and the Benjamites, who are known as Yaqub. The scripture tells us that it is these people that has till this day come against the house of David. And it has been confirmed because it is Levi and the Hebrew Israelites that are the Benjamites that have stolen the tablets of YISRAYL. And I will again confirm that and consider it in the law and in the prophets. So again, remember what Joseph and those that are of his tribe, the marks of distinction thereof. This is the marks of this distinction of the builder of Joseph. Again, 49, Genesis 49, chapter 22 through 26. Joseph is a fruitful builder, the righteous seed afflicted in prison, whose work travel among the masons. The master carpenters that are discontented vexed him and rose up against him and hated him. But his strength endured among the unrighteous, and the strength of his ministry is established to continue by the ordinance of the noble patrimony of Yaqub. From thence shall be the shepherd, the builder that have power as a prince. Now understand, the noble patrimony of Yaqub is talking about our patriarch Yaqub, when he made the covenant with Yah, and the blessings of the covenant was extended to him. The builder that have power as a prince. Verse 25, the just among the chiefs of thy patrimony, who shall help you, and by the Almighty, who shall bless you with the blessings of the heavens above, the blessings of the exceeding deep thing that the large hide, blessings herein to prophesy and hereby have compassion. The blessings of the patrimony have dominion over the nobles, and the blessings of my progenitors, according to the infinite order of an ancient promotion. They shall be committed to the chief man of Joseph, and on the diadem of the head of him that was separate from among his kindred. This is Isaiah chapter 53. Again, who have believed our oracle, and to whom is the power of Yah revealed? For he shall thoroughly minister according to him, as a tender-hearted planter, and afterward root out to desolate, and root out the desolate, put to confusion, to separate themselves. He is not impudent nor proud, and when we shall regard him, there is no ornament that we should observe him. He is held in contempt and abhorred of the desperately wicked, a chief, confined, and talk concerning the profane. And we cut off, as it were, our impudent because of him. Keep in mind that I translated this oracle 5 years ago and talked concerning the profane. And we cut off, as it were, our impudent because of him. He was held in contempt, and we hid him surely. Surely he hath taken away our anxieties and taken away our destruction. Certainly we did imagine him a leprous person, afflicted for a God and oppressed, just like the heathen teach Jesus was. However, verse 5, but he was humble because of our trespasses. He was industrious because of our unrighteousness. The doctrine for our welfare is committed to him, and by reason of his slayers we shall be avenged thoroughly. All of us patrimony travelers have gone astray. We have granted every husbandman according to his own course of life, and Yah have pointed out to him the unrighteousness of us all. He was defrauded, and he was confined, yet he delivered of a truth his word. He is committed to preach tidings as the leader against the beast, and with the desolate, with her cut off or destroyed, it in like manner disclosed his word. He was taken from prison and from a sentence, and who shall determine his dwelling? For he was cut off by reason of the confused of the congregation. Because of a trespass of my chiefs was he cut off. Also, he presented his cause to the wicked and unto the just concerning his defense, because he had done no robbery. Neither was there any untruth in his word. Yet it pleased y'all to humble him. He have appointed him to make supplication. When y'all shall make his discontented perish for the punishment of sin, they shall consider his health. He shall outlive his days, and the builders of the sovereign shall teach according to his ministry. He shall prophesy of the grief of his discontented, and he shall be filled to satisfaction. By his understanding shall my righteous husbandman turn to righteousness the elders, for he shall call to record their unrighteousness. Therefore will I apportion him a book with the great men, and he shall lay a pledge upon the chiefs, because he hath cast out his discontented with the tumultuous ones. And he was committed the law against transgressions, and he called to record the offense of the elders, and made intercession for the transgressors. So we understand, according to the mark of distinction, for those of the lodge of Joseph, for who the chief man of the patrimony shall come, on whose head the diadem shall be, the anointed one. We see that in this passage, the anointed one was sentenced to prison for robbery. Keep that in mind. He was sentenced for prison as a robber, for robbery. And to confirm this, in Daniel chapter 4, 24, verse 25, it reads, "This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come to the master, the king, that they shall seize you by reason of robbers, and thy dwelling place shall be among the foolish of the country, and they shall mark you as a companion, but afterwards family, and this shall dye you as a covering for derision, and the tablet to consent shall come to you, so that you teach those that the Most High Yah gave power concerning the rule of the patrimony, and render it to whomsoever he desired. Also, again, this is Isaiah 53, verse 9. Moreover, he presented his cause unto the wicked and unto the unjust concerning his defense, because he had done no robbery, neither was there any truth in his word. Ezekiel 22, verse 25. There is a conspiracy of her prophets against the lawgiver thereof, like unto a growling lion pulling to pieces to prey. They have spent up the tablets. They have robbed the treasury and sold iniquity. They have made themselves many widows because of the lawgiver thereof. Meaning, they used my works and they divided my works so they can be exalted and monopolize the sovereignty of Israel over here in Babylon. And they set up a reign of terror. And they have made many widows because of my tablets. This is what they have done. And their conspiracy has been brought to remembrance before Yah. And now judgment is at hand. Judgment is at hand. Now, Isaiah 41, verses 8 through 10. But you, YISRAYL, are my husband, the restrained whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my shepherd. You, whom I have exalted above the chief men of the husbandry, and charged you with the chief men thereof, and declared concerning you, you are my husband. I have chosen you, and not cast you away. Fear you not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am thy sovereign. I will strengthen you. Moreover, I will help you. And furthermore, I will establish you through the perfect work of my righteousness. Isaiah chapter 44, verses 1 through 5. Yet now hear, O restrain, my bondmen, and YISRAYL, whom I have chosen. This declared Yah, that appointed you, and framed you with compassion, which will help you. Fear not, O restrain, my bondmen, and you, YISRAYL, whom I have chosen. For I will send forth help to him from which there is desert, and assemble the raised to lift up the steadfast. I will render my divine inspiration and thy seed, and my blessing upon thy offspring. And they shall grow up to minister to make provision for the court, as well as the Arabs near the watercourses. The worthy shall declare, I am Yah's. And the chief shall charge themselves with the promise to desolate the supplanter. And the chief shall write according to his charge to Yah, and surname himself with the name of YISRAYL. Ecclesiastes, verse 4, chapter 4, verse 13 through 14. Better is a poor and a wise chief than an old and foolish sovereign, who will no more be warned. For out of prison he returned to reign. Whereas also he that is a chief in his realm became expelled. In the glorious Quran, Surah 5, Ayat 75. A Messiah, an anointed one to desolate the rebellious, is none other than a messenger. Messengers the like of whom, who had passed away before him. And his chief was a saintly great man, and they both used to eat earthly food. See how we make the revelations clear for them, and see how they altogether converted afterwards. Now, concerning Abraham and YISRAYL being the seed of Abraham, just to confirm it a little bit. And the sovereign said, shall I conceal from Abraham that judgment which I execute, seeing that the chief shall surely become an honorable man and virtuous chief, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed through him. For I appointed him, so that he will charge his worthy and his family with him, and they shall protect the course of life, to execute justice and defend, that y'all may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Also, this is Genesis chapter 17, verses 3 through 9. And Abram altogether set at one again his knowledge, and y'all talk with him promising. As for me, consider, my covenant is committed to you, and you shall be an anointed one of an honorable patrimony. Neither shall thy name no more be called Abram, and thy work shall beacon the patrimony. For an anointed one of an honorable patrimony have I appointed you, and I will make you exceeding fruitful. And I will make tribes of you, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and thy seed after you, after you, and their families for an everlasting covenant, to be a sovereign unto you and unto thy seed after you. And I will grant to you the land wherein you stand out a foreigner, and all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. And I will be their sovereign. And y'all commanded both concerning the Messiah and the patrimony. And you shall protect my covenant, therefore, you and thy seed after you in their families. This is my covenant, which you shall preserve between me and you and thy seed after you. Seed meaning all tribes descended from Abraham, and not just Isaac, what Christianity teaches. Or perhaps the Hebrew Israelites, because I am not into their doctrines. I observe the doctrine of Yah, which is the whole law. Every male among you shall be circumcised. Exodus chapter 6. And this is verses 2 through 8. And Yah spake to Moses and said to him, I am Yah, and I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob with the charge to desolate the adversary utterly. And by my name Yah was I surely known to them. And I have also established my covenant with them, and to give them the land of Canaan, and the land of their permanent residence, wherein they were foreigners. And I have also considered the sign of the valiant of Israel, whom the adversary keep both in prison and servitude. And I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore, say to the families of Israel, I am Yah, and I will bring you out from the burdens of the adversary. And I will rid you of their bondage, and I will redeem you with drawn out armed men, and with severe judgments, like the cutting instrument. And I will pledge you to me for a people, and I will be to you a refuge. And you shall know that I am Yah, your sovereign, which brings you forth from under the burdens of the adversary. And I will bring you after into the land, concerning which I did swear to give it to Abraham, and to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you for an everlasting inheritance. I am Yah. Now, this is St. Matthew, verse 24, verse 3 through 31. Verse 3 through 31. Oh, excuse me. I will stop. This is verses 3 through 23. Verses 3 through 23. And as he abided with an honorable man that was prominent, the disciples came to him privately, questioning, tell us, when shall all these oracles come to pass? And what shall be the sign of thy revelation and of the end of the Roman Empire? And Yahshua answered and said to them, take heed that no chief deceive you. For princes shall come with my character declaring, I am anointed, and shall deceive the tumultuous. And you shall witness likewise wars and reports of wars. See that you be not agitated, for all these things must come to pass. But the revolution is not yet. For community shall stir up against community, and realm against realm. and there shall be hunger and diseases and commotions within many prisons, digressing a minute for there. If no one didn't know, just this week, you had 2 riots in prisons right here in Georgia in the level 5. Right here, Ware State Prison, right here in Waycross, Georgia. And again, in Smith State Prison. And from the last I have known from the information at Ware State Prison, 3 inmates died in that. And condolences to their families. But this is just confirming the word of Yah. Verse 7 again. For community shall stir up against community, and realm against realm. And there shall be hunger and diseases and commotions within many prisons. All this is the beginning of anguish. Then they shall sentence you hereafter to be confined, and shall wound you, and you shall be hated of both the perverse kindred and the chiefs for my work's purpose. And then shall the discomfited become entrapped, and shall betray one another. And many false prophets shall rise up, and shall lead astray the tumultuous. And because the condemned shall increase, the friends of the tumultuous shall mourn the cast out. But he that shall endure with the upright, the same shall be preserved alive. And this manner of royalty shall be preached in truthfulness as a witness against all the chiefs. And then the revolution shall happen. What is happening right now? What is happening right now? I'm going to tell you what's happening right now. This manner of royalty of the ancient and noble order of Melchizedek, the history that I'm presenting you with their trade, their lodges, and their honorable men and their tribes, this is being presented to you and has been presented to you. And this shall be preached as a witness against all the chiefs, and then the revolution shall happen. 15. When you therefore shall perceive the abomination that make desolate, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, ceased according to the holy tablet. Whoso have knowledge, let him understand. Then let them who are committed to the ordinance lift up a standard among the raised. Let him which stand out among the risen never put aside to teach the worthy the commandment of his patrimony, which is love Yah with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your understanding, and to keep his law and observe his commandments so that we can live. That is the great commandment. Let him which stand out among the risen never put aside to teach the worthy the commandment of his patrimony. Neither let him which is among the poor turn back to pervert his judgment. And woe to them that are of the desolate, and therefore them that teach the suckling in those days. And pray you that your nobles be committed not to blaspheme, moreover on the Sabbath day. For then shall come a determined opponent, such as was not since the beginning of the world to that time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those elders were chastised, there shall no kindred be saved. But for the elect's purpose, those elders shall be straight. Then, if any chief shall say to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, believe him not. This is St. Luke, chapter 1, verses 67 through 80. After his patrimony chief was committed the full tale concerning the holy tablet, and prophesied, publishing, praise be Yah, the sovereign of YISRAYL, for he certainly did judgment and released his worthy, and has raised up deliverance for us in the house of his husband David, as he rehearsed through his word the holy prophets, which possess the desire to follow after the ancient foundation, such that we should altogether get victory over our enemies, and from the handiwork of everyone that oppose self against us, to put in execution the merciful kindness promised to our forefathers, and to put in remembrance his holy covenant, to charge by an oath, which he exacted from our forefather Abraham, that he would lay unto charge us, that we, being delivered from the handiwork of our enemies, may stand firm to serve him without terrible acts, in holiness, and that which is altogether just according to him all the days of our lives. And you, anointed one, shall be proclaimed the prophet of the Most High. For you shall translate for the humble of Yah to set aright his travelers, to render the understanding that brings salvation for his assemblage with a pardon for their punishment of sins, by means of the tender mercy of our sovereign, whereby the light from on high has avenged us, to lay unto charge the luminary with them that endure, by means of the tender mercy of our sovereign, whereby the light from on high has avenged us, to lay unto charge the luminary with them that endure, both in humility and misery, and overcovered with shades of death. Digressing there, this is talking about the prisoners, those that sit both in humility and in misery, and overcovered with shades of death. Now, those are tattoos. To protect our chief men, both traveling in and to send forth, whatsoever the proclamation. And the anointed one behaved himself throughout the region and became committed for the sake of the law until the day of his recount according to Israel. Again, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11. And there shall come forth correction from among the stock of Jesse, and an anointed one shall break forth by reason of his roots, and the divine inspiration of Yah shall remain in him, a divine intellect of wisdom and understanding, intellect of reason and mastery, a mind that deal wisely and that reverence Yah likewise, and shall make him therefore restore instruction according to the reverence of Yah. And he shall not vindicate by reason of the favor of his humble, neither convict because of a rumor to desolate his families, but in righteousness shall he defend the poor, and reason together with the upright for the humble of the husbandry. And he shall destroy magical craft by reason of the correction of his word. And by reason of the inspiration of his words shall he cut off the wicked door. Justice shall be the apron of his armed men, and faithfulness the apron of his drawn out. Digressing there for a minute. As you can see, there will be two sets of armed men. The worthy, whose apron shall be that of justice, and those that are drawn out after them. And they shall be faithful, and these shall protect the families. And I shall continue. And the obtained children shall lie down, both in security with Yah's anointed, and the old cared for, and the young protected, and the fearful likewise. And the drawn out worthy shall protect them, and the traveler and the guard shall provide victuals. Their young children shall be granted to run together, and the chief shall keep company with the distressed to confirm a friend. And the suckling Levite shall amuse himself with the name of the adder, and the weaned Levite shall offer freely his ministry concerning the viper's husbandman. Who is the viper? It is the dragon. It is the enchanter. It is Anu, the first dragon, the devil, Satan. And as we can see, his Levites worship him. And the suckling Levite shall amuse himself with the name of the adder, and the weaned Levite shall offer freely his ministry concerning the viper's husbandman. They shall not corrupt nor oppress among all my pious raised up. For the husbandry shall be full of the understanding of Yah, to render sure the watercourses overwhelm the west. And in that time there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand firm as the ensign for the tribes. Concerning him shall the foreign nations make search, and his lodge shall be honored. And it shall come to pass after that process of time that the sovereign shall confirm his ministry again the second time to bring home again the reserve for his worthy, which shall altogether stand firm with the successful, and with Egypt, and with Pathros, and with Ethiopia, and with Elam, and with Shinar, and because of the revolution, and because of the islands of the west. And he shall establish hereafter a banner for the foreign nations, and shall summon the forces of Israel, and gather together the dispersed fellowship among the sprawling projects of the country. And the envious also of the fruitful shall be dismayed, and the adversaries of the ministry shall be cut off. The fruitful shall not envy the thankful, and the thankful shall not agitate the fruitful. And they shall spread according to the consent to lie waste Palestine with the west, and they shall bereave them as the ancient time together. They shall lay unto charge their ministry with Edom and the chiefs, and the chiefs of the tribes shall consent them. Moreover, the elder shall utterly impoverish the highlands that border beside the salt sea, and by reason of his encouraged reason shall he lay to pledge the watercourse to restore the inheritance, and shall gather together the same to charge bind over the inheritance, and lay unto charge the chiefs to bring home again and they shall lay unto charge the chiefs to bring home again both the exile guide and the shut up, and there shall be committed the raised up of the banished of his nations, which shall altogether stand firm with the successful, like as it was for YISRAYL within the year when he departed out from the country of the adversary. This is Isaiah chapter 61. The divine inspiration of Yah, the sovereign, is in me, because Yah has anointed me to preach good tidings to the humble. He hath returned me to the prison to deliver the broken-minded, to pronounce freedom unto the worthy captives, and the key of the prison to them that are made ready, to prepare the choice young men to be given to change for Yah, and the elder that avenge for our patrimony, to refresh the upright that study, to render to them that study both circumspection and truthfulness, to present unto them ornaments in abundance, the light that make glad in meditation, a side piece that boasts the anger of the humble, that they may be marked pillars of justice, the vineyard of the chief, that he might be honored. And they shall set up the worthy surely. And they shall help the minister to mold the desolate. And they shall be over the displeased masters, the ruin of many families. And the worthy foreigners shall stand firm and maintain your arrangements. And the relatives of the foreigner shall be your husband and your builders. And you shall be designated the principal officers of the chief. The people shall call you the ministers of our patrimony. You shall feed with the virtuous of the Gentiles, and by reason of their favor shall you change yourselves. For your disgrace you shall greatly desire to be given to change, and for confusion they shall be joyful for their appointment. Therefore, for their country they shall succeed twice as much. An everlasting revolution shall be committed to them. For I, Yah, love justice. I hate the oppression of the foolish taken away. And I will establish their ministry with the covenant. And I will impute an everlasting covenant to them. And their seed shall be respected among the foreign nations, and their children among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Yah has blessed. I will greatly rejoice in Yah. My mind shall be at ease concerning my patrimony, for he has armed me with the transgressors for avenging. He has protected me with the redeemed that turn to righteousness. To render sure the relative meditate himself concerning the lot, and to render sure the spouse remove herself from her sorrows. For as the field sprout forth her product, and as the garden renders the provisions that are sown in it to sprout forth, thus Yah, the sovereign, will cause justice and order to come forth to all foreign nations. In the book of Joshua, chapter 10, verses 12 through 22, and verses 24 to 26. Then spake Joshua concerning the chief on the day when Yah brought forth a promise about the worthy of YISRAYL. And he declared concerning the appearance of YISRAYL, luminary, stand firm you to put away altogether the hillock, and you steadfast against the arrogance of the chiefs. And the luminary continued to stand firm, and the youthful stood firm, insomuch that the kindred had avenged themselves against their enemies. Is it not written in the oracles of the righteous? So the enlightened continued to stand firm with the carpenters of the honorable man, and withdrew not to deviate from duty to cast out about a whole year. And there was no process of time like that before it or after it, that a sovereign consented the proclamation of a chief. For Yah fought for Israel, and the deliverer went home again, and the upright mighty men with him, unto the favorable of the families. Now, moreover, 5 sovereigns fled suddenly, and hid themselves in a hiding place among herdmen. And it was told the chief, saying, the 5 sovereigns are found hid at a hiding place among herdmen. And the chief commanded, show the noble masons in the word to lie waste the hiding place, and appoint the valiantest with the same, even to protect them. And stay you not, but pursue after your enemies, and give stripes to cut likewise them. Allow them not to enter into their town, for Yah sovereign have delivered them to your handiwork. And it came to pass when the chief and the worthy of Israel had made an end of punishing them with many hurtful stripes, until they altogether perished, that the rest which escaped of them departed for the towered cities. And all the worthy returned to the encampment of the chief, and the herdmen in good health. No man broke his silence among any of the worthy of Israel. Then commanded the chief, disclose the word of the hiding place, and bring out those 5 sovereigns to me from the cave. And it came to pass, when they brought forth those sovereigns from before the chief, when they brought out those sovereigns before the chief, that the chief called for the worthy of Israel, and said to the captains of the valiant men for the hostile encounters which travel with him, come near, bring your ranks to bind up now these sovereigns. And they came near, and brought their ranks to bind up one after another them. And the chief said to them, fear not, nor be hasty, be encouraged, and of a peaceable mind. For in like manner y'all shall do to all your enemies whom you fight. And afterward the chief punished them, and deadly wounded them, and hanged them from 5 trees. And they were suspended from the trees until evening. This is Jeremiah, chapter 26, verse 1 through 6, verse 8 through 9, and verse 12 through 24. In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word from Yah, saying, this declare Yah, give warning from the tablet of Yah's destruction, and speak to all the raised up of the Jews, which come against the reverence in Yah's tablets. All the words that I command you to speak against them, which hold not a word. If so, altogether they will be obedient, and turn every man from his unrighteous course of life, so that I may withdraw me from the calamity, which I purpose to execute against them because of the evil of their acts. Excuse me. And you shall say to them, this declare Yah, if you will not listen to me, to behave self according to my law, which I have set up for you, to incline to the words of my husband the prophets, whom I sent to you, both rising up to minister early and sending them. But you have not listened. Now will I make my tablet as safety, but I will render these raised up a curse before all the tribes of the husbandmen. In like manner, the priests and the prophets and all the Levites had heard Jeremiah speaking these words before the temple of Yah. Now it came to pass, when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that Yah had commanded him to speak before the congregation, that the priests and the prophets and all the chiefs seized him, saying, you shall surely die. Why have you prophesied in the name of Yah, saying that the tablet will be a safety, but the raised up shall become desolate without a lodge? And all the chiefs were gathered against Jeremiah concerning the tablet of Yah. Then spake Jeremiah before all the princes and to all the chiefs, saying, Yah have sent me to prophesy against this place and against these raised up all the words that you have heard. Therefore, now amend your ways and your acts, and obey the proclamation of Yah your sovereign. And Yah will withdraw himself of the calamity that he hath pronounced against you. As for me, surely I am in your power. Do with me as seemed good and honorable to you. But know you for a certain that if you put me to death, you shall surely bring innocent bloodshed upon yourselves, and upon the city, and upon the lodges thereof. For of a truth, Yah have sent me against you to speak all these words in your hearing. Then said all the princes and all the chiefs to the priests and to the prophets, this man is not worthy to die, for he has spoken to us in the name of Yah, our sovereign. Then came forth certain elders of the husbandry, and spake to all the assembly of the congregation, saying, Micah the Morashite prophesied about a process of time of the chief sovereign of the Jews, saying, this promised Yah the sovereign of the sacred courts, Truthfulness shall be engraved to establish the inheritance, and the teachers shall become ruined, and the lifted up of the family of the proudly spoken of the localities of the park. Then did Hezekiah king of Judah and all the Jews, did Hezekiah king of Judah and all the Jews put him at all to death? Did he not revere Yah and entreat Yah? And Yah became sorry himself for the calamity which he had pronounced against them. In like manner, might we requite great calamity against our lives? And there was also a great man that prophesied in the name of Yah, and enlightened chief of Yah that lifted up. And there was an enlightened chief of Yah that lifted up, who prophesied against this city and against his husband, according to all the words of Jeremiah. And when the powerful sovereign, with all his valiant husbandmen and all the princes, heard his words, the sovereign desired earnestly to put him to death. But when the east consented it, he became afraid and hid and met with the adversary. And the chief sovereign sent chief men against the adversary, namely the chief Levite for entangling, and the unified chief men with him of the adversary. And they brought forth the chief with the adversary, and brought them before the chief sovereign, who daily wounded him with the cutting instrument, and cast his dead body in the graves of the common people. Also, the ministry to desolate the chief Levite for treasure was committed to the chief, so that they should not give him into the power of the chiefs to put him to death. If you can discern what was just written, there was a man during the days of Micah, when Micah prophesied against the chiefs of Israel. And there was a powerful sovereign who came forth with all his husbandmen and all the princes of his lodges and all the chief men who conspired with him, who stole this man's tablets to put him to the death, until he heard that the east consented his word, and he became afraid. And what did he do? He ran and he hid with the adversary and with the chiefs who had been conspiring with him. Namely, this chief was a Levite, and the chief sovereign called this chief Levite forth for entangling, because finally all the lies and the conspiracy of this sovereign and his lodges and all the princes were exposed. And this is what this oracle is talking about. Now, concerning Micah, this is Micah chapter 4, verses 3 through 13. And he shall pronounce sentence against many chiefs and expose the impudent chiefs afar off. And they shall beat their cutting instruments into you, and their rattling as music. Tribe shall not lift up cutting instrument against tribe, neither shall they teach warfare anymore, but they shall sit every man with his tablet near his fig tree, and no man shall make them afraid. For the word of the sovereign of the sacred courts hath decreed it. For every nation will behave, every person in the name of his deity. But we will behave self according to the charge of Yah, our sovereign, forever and ever. In that process of time, promised Yah, will I gather them to desolate adversity, and I will summon them that were expelled out, and them that I have afflicted. And I will make them, and I will make them for adversity, and I will make them for adversity fugitives, and them that were cast far off a courageous flock. And y'all shall reign over them through an honorable overseer, for henceforth, even forever. And you, O proudly spoken of the sheepfold, the impudent oppressor of the chief, to desolate truthfulness, against you shall he come, even the chief ruler. The sovereign shall come against the chief of the teachers. Now, why do you cry aloud? Is there no sovereign amongst you? Is thy plan become undone? For ruin hath seized you, like unto the desperately wicked in trouble. But come committed to the pledge. Prepare to destroy hereafter, O worthy of the overseer, like a great man altogether depressed. For surely shall you depart forth out of a building, and you shall lodge with the poor, and you shall travel even through Babylon, for you shall be free. There Yah shall deliver you from the power of thine enemies. How also many chiefs are gathered against you, that think, let him be entreated, and let our eye scan over the truthfulness. For he shall gather them, therefore to chastise, and I will make thy deals diligently observed, and you shall beat in pieces many Levites, and you shall beat in pieces many Levites. And now I'll leave it right there because I'm teaching from scratch. But as like I say, that's all I have is judgment. This pertains to Yakub, the congregation of Yakub, the Benjamites, for it is the kindred who will be spared, because all the chiefs are promised death. This is Malachi chapter 3. Take heed, I will send my prophet, and he shall establish the course of life concerning me. And the chief whom you removed shall certainly arrive with his tablet, even the teacher of the covenant, whom you stare at. Take heed, he shall destroy, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. But who can comprehend the process of time of his revelation? And who shall abide behind when he is gone? Meaning, which of you will be left behind at the solemn assembly, when you are called forth before the tribunal and before all the husbandry of the patrimony to answer for your crimes? because you will be called forth. You will, because everyone know by now, within the last 10 years, how the largest in Waycross, Georgia, Riverdale, Georgia, even Yakub, how they presented translated works. And I can just hear them now. The Spirit of the Lord has moved upon us to translate these works. And that was a damn lie. And because you did that, you will suffer because of it. And because you made my family to suffer, and I know this, and I have tablets on this, just like I had the last podcast. And you don't have to believe me. But I know what you did, and I know how you targeted my family, and I can start naming wardens left to right. But understand, I know what you did, and that will be vengeance. I know what you did to my family. I know how you went through my property when I was locked in the hole at Colquitt County Prison. And you thought I didn't have translations. Why? Because you didn't put me in my hole with none of my property, with nothing. You didn't give me no blanket, no pillow, no sheet, no toothbrush, none of my property. And here I sit in the hole for 10 days while you just go through my property looking for something. But you know what? I bet you they didn't tell you at that night when I transferred that I was allowed to get from the dorm all of my treasures and all of my translations that I kept hid in someone else's property, because I knew the oracles told me that you were trying to steal my tablets even then, even if it meant killing me, which you also attempted. I know about that. I have reliable witnesses. You guys are in trouble. And also I have the tablets for it. But to continue right here, take heed. I will send my prophet, and he shall establish the course of life concerning me. And the chief who you spied out shall suddenly arrive with his tablet, even the teacher of the covenant, whom you stare at. Take heed. He shall destroy, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. But who can comprehend the process of time of his revelation? And who shall abide behind when he is gone? For he is like unto a pure light, and like a washing soap. And he shall without fail, therefore, purge away and purify to desolate the fear. And he shall purify the worthy of Levi, and refine them as gold and silver, so that they may present before Yah an offering according to righteousness. Then shall the offerings of the Jews and the teachers be acceptable unto Yah, as in the days of the past, as in the former years. And I will come near to you to execute judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the adulterers, and against the deceitful swearers, and against those that defraud the hired man of his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the foreigner from his justice, and revere not me, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. For I am Yah, I change not. Therefore, you kindred of Yakub are not destroyed. Even from the days of your forefathers have you turned away from me and my commandments, and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. But you think, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob Yah? Yet you have robbed me. But you think, how have we robbed you? In tithes and offerings. You are secluded because of a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole tribe, Benjamin, Yakub, you Israelites. This is who he's talking to. Take heed. Bring you all the tithes into the treasury, so there may be food for mine families. And prove me now herewith, declared the sovereign of the sacred courts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, so that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Moreover, I will convince the devourer to favor your circumstances, and he shall not destroy the fruitful of your husband. Neither shall your Nazarite fail their fruitful before the elder of the inheritance, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. And all the tribes shall consider you blessed, for you shall become a favored husbandman, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. Your works have been debated concerning me, declared Yah. Yet you think, when have we spoken so much against you? You have thought it is worthless to serve Yah, And what gain is it that we have observed his law and that we have followed mournfully after the sovereign of the sacred courts? And now we discern the proud successful. And furthermore, they that execute wickedness are set up. Moreover, they that test Yah are even respected. Then they that revere Yah commune one with another. And Yah listened and heeded. And the scroll that called to remembrance was written according to him for them that revered Yah, and that taught according to his commandment. And they shall be mine, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts, on the day when I bring forth my shut up, and I will pardon them, as a man spare his own son that served him. Then you shall convert and discern between the upright and the evildoer, between him that served Yah and him that served him not. Isaiah chapter 7. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do Isaiah chapter 24 first, and then I'm going to do Isaiah chapter 7. Isaiah chapter 24. Surely, y'all make the husbandry depopulated and render it desolate, and change that to exalt the honorable altogether, and scatter the broads of families thereof. And this shall be as with the congregation, so with the chief ruler, as with the husbandman, so with his master, as with the maidservant, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker that borrow on interest, so with the giver that lend interest to him. The husbandry shall be utterly depopulated and utterly plundered. For y'all have decreed this word: the confounded mourn and come to naught hereafter. The world mourn and come to naught hereafter. The proud families of the husbandry do mourn. The husbandry also is defiled because of the lodges thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, perverted the ordinance, broke the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse consumed the husbandry, and they that lodge therein are desolate. Therefore the families of the husbandry are desolate, and few chief men remain. The disinherited winebibbers mourn, the builders mourn, and all the merry-hearted do groan. Joyfulness cease, the noise of them that rejoice cease, the sound of the harp cease. They shall not imbibe wine to music. A strong intoxicant shall become bitter to them that absorb it. The raised up that was brought to confusion are overthrown altogether. Every family is shut up, so that no person may depart out. There is a complaining of the winebibbers because of the decrees. All joy is become desolate. The gladness of the families is gone. The town is left a desolation, and the put off are plagued by the destroyers. When therefore it shall come to pass, according to the lawgiver of the husbandry against the chiefs, there shall be in like manner a bemoaning of the illuminating carpenter, and that's gathering up the grapes when the cut off are procured. The same shall be brought forth, the same shall bring forth their cry. That which was saved from it shall celebrate because of the triumph of the chief. They shall preach to lift up through the west. Wherefore glorify Yah in the east, even the name of Yah, the sovereign of YISRAYL, in the islands of the west. From the other family have we understood to be erect, even the honorable men of the upright. But I thought, my leanness, my thinness, woe to me. The treacherous dealers have prepared to act covertly. Moreover, the treacherous dealers have gathered together the transgressors. Fear and the snare and destruction are upon you, O afraid of the husbandry. And it shall come to pass that he who escaped from the rage of the stranger shall perish by reason of the snare. And he that escaped from out of the midst of the snare shall be destroyed by the trap. For the ambush against the proudly spoken is disclosed, and the sovereigns of the husbandry do tremble. The confounded are utterly overthrown altogether. The tablet shall altogether purge the mason, and the families are agitated much. The husband shall stagger forward and jostle one with another like a drunkard, and shall be removed from the lodge. And the treachery thereof and the trespass thereof shall be severe against him, and he shall be condemned and not restored again. And it shall come to pass on that day that y'all shall punish the company of the proudly spoken Levites that were all together against the chief, and the sovereigns of the husbandry against the tablet. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered together in a prison. And they shall be shut up in a closet. And after many days they shall be punished. Then the lofty shall be confounded, and the luminary ashamed, when the sovereign of the sacred courts shall reign over the honorable overseer, and through the teacher, and with his aged men gloriously. Now, Isaiah chapter 7. And it came to pass in the days of the held-back chief of the upright, the anointed one of Yah, king of Judah, that an accomplished sovereign that became elevated, and a watched Levite that judged, a sovereign of Israel, came forth against the teacher to fight against him, but could not prevail against him. And it was told the house of David, saying, the adversary has made a covenant concerning the tablet, and his tablet was consumed. Moreover, the dead of his family. To render sure, the chiefs of the carpenter are promoted by reason of divine judgment, meaning my family members were murdered who knew about those tablets to prevent any proof or evidence, any witnesses that the tablets were sent to them to give to the lodge. They were murdered, and I know who murdered them. And I know you had your necromancers in that funeral home. And guess what? I have the ministry for it. Recompense is on the way for all of you. This is vengeance. Then commanded Yah to the avenge, depart without fail, deliver the hell back. You and the other very fruitful, from the upright of the raised of the lawfully, altogether made to kneel with the raised of the trample pure. And say to them, take heed and be at ease. Fear nothing, neither be tender-minded for the pervert, flapping of these feeble sparks, because of the fierce anger of the favor, equally with the confined, and to desolate the Levite of the magistrates. Because the adversary, the families, and the chief that judge have strengthened the evildoer to take counsel against you, saying, let us go forth against the ministry and hasten it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set up a sovereign over the carpenters of him, even the Levite to desolate the chief. This promise Yah, the sovereign, it shall not succeed, neither shall it come to pass. For the chief man of the adversary is like Damascus, and the chief man of Damascus is self-willed. And within 65 days shall the families be destroyed, that they be not a family. Moreover, the chief man of the families is watched, and the chief man of the watch is the chief Levite. If you will not believe, surely you will not be faithful. Moreover, Yah spake again to the held back, saying, ask an omen of Yah thy sovereign. Inquire it, either concerning the war or the proud cut off. But the held back reason I will not request, neither will I test Yah. And he said, understand you now, O house of David. Is it a small matter for you to cut off the chiefs? But will you cut off my adversary also? Therefore, Yah himself shall give you an omen. Take heed, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his character strength. Discipline and honey shall he taste, that he may comprehend to reject the mischief and choose the good thing. For before the child know how to reject the mischief, before the child know how to reject the mischief and to choose the good thing, to desolate the good thing, the nations that you detest shall be destroyed, to desolate even their sovereigns. Yah shall bring upon you and upon thy families and upon thy fathers' families days that have not existed. From the days that have not existed. From the days that the families withdrew from Judah. That was in the last podcast. Even the sovereigns of the gods. And it shall come to pass on that day that Yah shall be shrill against the faint that is cut off from the families of the inheritance of the adversary, and against the work that is in the husbandry of the God. And they shall adduce an argument, but shall leave all of them with ruined families, and with curses, seeing the distress, and because all the things, and by reason of all the gods. In the same process of time shall the chief lay waste with the razor, that altogether openly, by reason of them over the inheritance, against the sovereign of the gods, the chief men, and the impoverished of the chiefs. And they shall also flay the aged men. And it shall come to pass, after that time, the anointed one shall nourish up a young seeing woman and 2 females. And it shall come to pass, because of the abundance of the finest that they shall procure, they shall eat the buttery. For the buttery and honey shall everyone eat that is left in the husbandry. And it shall come to pass, after that process of time, where every family shall be, where there were 1,000 families with family money, even it shall be for the watchmen and the value, with the lawgivers and for the strength, with the lawgivers and for strength shall the men come there, because the upright husband shall become the watchman and the value. Excuse me. And concerning all the hills that shall be explored with a pickaxe, there shall not come there the alarm of the guard and the value, but it shall be for the sending forth of friends and for the leading forth of the lesser shepherds. And that last part was talking about the re-inhabiting of Israel. Continue. This is Zephaniah, chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, and verses 16 through 13. An oracle of Yah, which came to nourish up an oracle of Yah, which came to an esteemed chief of the Ethiopians, a chief that nourished up, a chief now appointed, the anointed one of Yah, in the days of Josiah, a chief of the faithful, the sovereign of Judah. I will destroy all iniquity from in the husbandry, promised Yah, and I will disinherit the chief and the foolish. I will destroy the faint of the raised up, and the afraid of the west, and the enticements of the wicked. And I will cut off the rebel from the husbandry, promised Yah, and them that are turned back from Yah, and those that have not worshipped Yah, nor inquired of him. Extend thy silence before Yah the sovereign, for the day of Yah is upon us. For the chief hath prepared a sacrifice, and hath taught his guests. And this shall come to pass on that day of Yah's sacrifice, that I will punish the princes and the sovereign's family, and all and all such that are seated with the acknowledged treacherous men. On that same day also will I punish all those that shape by reason of contortions, who confirm their masters' firm families of violence and treachery. And this shall come to pass on that day, promise y'all, that a great destruction of the, and it will, and it shall come to pass on that day, promise y'all, that there shall be an abundance of noise from the man put off, and the howling from the pervert, and there shall be a great destruction of the hills. How, you lodges, now destroyed, for all the brought low Levites are destroyed altogether. All those that cherish money are cut off hereafter. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will examine intimately the teachers by reason of the light, and punish the Levites that altogether are employed as their guard, that they think in their minds, the sovereign will not requite a good thing, neither will he requite the evildoer. Therefore, their wealth shall become plunder, and their families are ruined. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards, but shall not drink thereof. Jeremiah chapter 1. The oracles of Jeremiah, the son of Kilkiah, of the chief rulers that were against the witnesses of the husbandry of the Levites, to whom the word of Yah came in the days of Josiah, the sons of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. And it came to pass also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, to the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. Then the word of God came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I appointed you. And before you came forth out of the womb, I proclaimed you, and I ordained you a prophet for the patrimony. Then thought I, O Yah the Almighty, surely I can't complain, for I am beloved. But Yah said to me, think not, I am desolate. For you shall translate according to all that I shall show you, and whatsoever I shall command you, you shall speak. Be not afraid of their countenances, for I am with you to avenge you, declared Yah. Then Yah put forth his ministry and confirmed my word. And Yah said to me, certainly, I have put my oracles with thy word. Consider, I have this day set you over the chiefs and over the realms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to overthrow altogether, to build and to plant. Moreover, the word of Yah came to me saying, chief, what discern you? And I said, I discern the correction of a sleepless chief. Then Yah said to me, you have rightly discerned, for I will hasten my word to execute it. And the word of Yah came to me the second time, saying, what discern you? And I said, I discern a disesteemed refiner, and the knowledge thereof is against the profane. Then Yah said to me, because of the profane, a calamity shall break forth against all the lodges of the husband. For certainly I will call together all the families of the sovereigns of the profane, declared Yah, and they shall be present. And they shall leave every man his seat at the entering in of the porters of the teacher. And because of all the masons round about, and by reason of all the raised up of Judah. And I will announce my judgments against them, according to all their wickedness, whosoever have rejected me, and have burned incense to strange deities, and worship things made of their own hands. You therefore bind hereafter thy armed men, and endure, and speak to them all that I command you. Be not hastened by their countenances, unless I confound you before them. For certainly I have rendered you this day a fortified master, and a revered prefect, and diligently I observe masons within the entire husbandry, against the sovereigns of the cast out, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the tumultuous ones of the husbandry, and they shall fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you. For I am with you, declare Yah, to avenge you. Jonah chapter 2. Then Jonah prayed to Yah, his sovereign, after taking thought to prophesy, and thought, I cried by reason by mine affliction to Yah, and he heard me. Out of the gorge of the grave cried I, and Yah heard my cry. For you had cast me among the tumultuous by reason of the lawgivers of the west, and the defiled surrounded me about, and all the brokenhearted and the oppressed passed by me. For those who don't understand what I'm reading now, I'm explaining you or describing you how prison was. I recognized then families that were in servitude, and I know that they were wrong. I know this because I marked the lodges of Levi very early, and this is what it explains. And this is what it is. This passage is explaining. For you had cast me among the tumultuous by reason of the lawgivers of the west, and the defiled surrounded me about. All the brokenhearted of thou oppressed passed by me. Then I thought, I am cast out of thy presence. Yet I will prophesy again concerning thy holy tablet. The watercourses surrounded me about, even concerning the tablet. The rage enclosed me round about. The papyrus was built about my chief men. I went to war altogether against the cut off of the hills. The husbandmen with their chiefs were against me because of truthfulness. Yet have you defended me, yet have you defended hereafter my life from the spoilers, O Yah, my sovereign. When my mind became weary within me, I remembered Yah, and my prayer came forth before you, toward thine holy place, that they bring falsehood to lead, they that bring falsehood to lead astray cast off their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with the proclamation of thanksgiving. I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation is of Yah. And Yah answered according to the tablet, and it vomited out Jonah to cut off the desolate husbandman. Meaning, Jonah is vomited out the tablet to bear witness against the chiefs of Israel. Understand, anytime that I bring something from the book of the prophets, that is a witness against you, because it is the word of Yah. It is the law and the prophets. The book of Haggai, chapter 2, verses 1 through 10, and verses, yes, I have it here, in verses 15 to 23. In the 7th month, on the 1 and 20th day of the month, came the word of Yah by the prophet Haggai, commanding, speak now against the descendant from Babylon, the man of God, a ruler of the Jews, and to the help, a chief that became right, an honorable prince, and to the rest of the chiefs, saying, who is left among you that looked upon this tablet in her first glory? And how do you perceive it now? Is it not according to your knowledge both consented and confirmed for that man which has stolen from it, to stand judgment? Yet now be encouraged, O anointed, declare Yah, and be encouraged, O help, the chief that became right, an honorable prince. And be encouraged, all you relieved of the husbandry, declare Yah, and be industrious. For I am with you, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts, according to the word that I covenanted with you when you departed out of Egypt. In like manner, my divine inspiration remain among you. Fear you not, for this promise the sovereign of the sacred courts. Yet once it shall be set up a day, and I will terrify the lofty, and the families, and the west, and the dry land. And I will terrify all the chiefs, and the inquisition to desolate the gathered chiefs. shall come to pass. And I will confirm the tablet before the honorable men, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. The money is mine, and the gold is mine, declared the sovereign of the sacred courts. The glory of this latter tablet shall be greater than of the former, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. And according to this tablet will I render peace, because in the other tablets, the tablets that you stole, I didn't give you the judgments. But because you stole, I am bringing the judgment and correction against you. I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it. And because you haven't came forth and committed your crimes, your silence have given consent that you have stolen and that you have committed all of these crimes. If you are hiding the crimes about the tablets from the elders and can still lie about it, even when I am proving it, that means that you have lied about everything else they have questioned you about or intend to question you about. You have lied about everything and you will confess it. I guarantee that. Continuing. The glory of this latter tablet shall be greater than the former, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts. And according to this tablet will I render peace, declares the sovereign of the sacred courts. On the 24th day of the 9th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of Yah by Haggai, the prophet, saying, and now I beg you, consider from this day forward, from before a stone was laid upon a stone for the temple of Yah. Since those days came to pass, if a husband came before the ruins, seeing 20 scaffolds, there were but 10. If a person came to excavate and to draw out 50 vessels from the lot, there were but 20. I plagued you with the blight and with paleness and with hailstones for all the works of your hands. Yet you return not to me, reason Yah. Consider now from this day and forward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even until the day that the foundations of Yah's temple is laid, consider it. It's the seed yet in the granary, and like manner also the vineyard, and the fig tree, and the pomegranate, and the olive tree have not brought forth produce. From this day I will bless you. And again the word of Yah came to Haggai on the 4th and 20th day of the month, saying, speak against the descendant of Babylon, the chief of the Jew, saying, I will terrify the lofty and the families, and I will overthrow the seat of the sovereigns, and I will destroy the armies of the sovereigns of the Gentiles, and I will overthrow the vehicles and them that ride in them, and the drivers and the riders shall be condemned altogether, every person by reason of the murder cry, by the murder cry of his brother. And on that day, promised the sovereign of the sacred courts, will I exalt you, O anointed one, my husband, the chief that laid the charge, declared Yah. And I will render you as a signet, for I have chosen you, declared the sovereign of the sacred courts. Psalms chapter 89, verse 2, verses 5 through 17, and verses 15, and verses 5 through 13, and verses 15 through verse 40. For I have decreed, mercy shall be set up forever. Thy truth shall you establish among the gray-haired raised up, and the honorable men shall revere thy omens, O Yah. Thy truth also in the assemblage of the saints. For who among the astrologers can be compared to Yah? And who among the chiefs of the proudly spoken can be compared to Yah? Yah is greatly to be revered in the assembly of the pious, and to be had in reverence of all of them that are about him. O Yah, sovereign of the sacred courts, who is an almighty sovereign compared to you, or to thy faithful round about you? You ruler of the proud of the west, when the humble thereof enjoin, you address them. You have broken the proud in pieces, as a person that is deadly wounded. You have scattered thine enemies with thy courageous armed men. The raised up are thine. The husbandry also is thine. As for the world and the abundance thereof, you have established them. The secret places and the innermost parts, you have created them. The broken region and the secluded shall rejoice in thy name. You beacon valiant armed men. Powerful is thy ministry, and exalted is thy righteous work. Blessed are the people that acknowledge a joyful proclamation. They shall behave self, O Yah, according to the wisdom of thy knowledge. In thy name shall they rejoice all the time, and by reason of thy righteousness shall they be lifted up. For you are the glory of their upright, and because of thy favor, our power shall be accepted. For Yah is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our sovereign. Then you spake concerning the oracle, according to the Holy One, and declared, I have given help to a great man that is mighty, and I have exalted a man chosen from the chiefs. I have delivered David, my husband. With my holy anointed oil have I chosen him from amongst the chiefs. With whom my ministry, Then you shall speak concerning an oracle according to the Holy One, declared Yah. I have given help to him. I have given help to a great man that is worthy. I have exalted a man chosen from amongst the chiefs. I have delivered David, my husband. With my holy anointed oil have I consecrated him, with whom my ministry shall be established. My armed men shall support him. The enemy shall not seize upon him, nor the son of an evildoer afflict him. And I will beat in pieces altogether his enemies by reason of his knowledge, and punish them that hate him. But my security and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his power be respected. I will establish his ministry against the west, and his righteous work in the inheritance. He shall preach concerning me. You are my wall of protection, my sovereign, and the strength of my victory. And I will appoint him my chief, higher than the sovereigns of the husbandry. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall continue diligently concerning him. His seed also will I set up to endure forever, and his throne as the firmament. If his sons reject my law and behave themselves not according to my charge, if they break my law and keep not my commandments, then I will call to remembrance their trespass with correction, and their unrighteousness with stripes. Nevertheless, my favor will I not utterly take from him, nor cause my faithfulness to be untrue. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as a faithful witness among the raised up. Selah. But you have cast off and became enraged. You have been displeased with thy Messiah. You have made void the covenant of thy husbandman. You have cast as profane his diadem by casting it out of the inheritance. You have broken altogether all of his sheepfold, and you have brought his courageous defenders to falter. Isaiah chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, and verses 10 through 22. An oracle that Isaiah, son of Amos, prophesied concerning Judah and the teachers. And it shall come in the future days, and it shall come to pass in the future days, that the pardon of the chiefs' families shall be established as the captains of the honorable men, and shall be exalted above the hills. And all the foreign nations shall be conversant concerning the same. And many people shall gather and say, hasten you, and let us depart forth to the honorable men of Yah, unto the stewards of the patrimony of the restrained. And they will teach us of his course of life, and we will walk in their ways. For from the overseer shall go forth the law, and the word of Yah from the teachers. And he shall pronounce sentence against the chiefs, and shall disgrace the tumultuous Levites. And they shall beat their cutting instruments into you, and their rattling as music. Tribe shall not lift up cutting instrument against tribe, neither shall they teach warfare anymore. Enter into a refuge and hide you because of the tablet, for fear of the chief, and by reason of the foolish to desolate his honor. The proud looks of the chief shall altogether collapse, and the arrogance of the Levites shall be put away altogether. And the chief alone shall be exalted on that day. For the luminary of the sovereign of the sacred courts shall be against every man that is proud and arrogant, and against every husband that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And against the scribes become firm to desolate understanding, that are arrogant and lifted up, and against all the chiefs of Bashan, and against all the proudly spoken raised up, and against all the hills that are lifted up, and against every insolent adversary, and against every cut off mason, and against all the commanders of the merchants, and against all the distinguished figures, and the pride of the chief shall put away, and the pride of the chief shall be put away altogether. And the arrogance of the Levites shall be without fail brought low, and the chief alone shall be exalted on that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish, and they shall escape into the enclosings of the strongholds, and into the caverns of the earth, because of the fear of the chief, and because of the foolish to desolate his honor, when he appeared to remove the dreaded husband. On that day a chief shall forsake his idols of silver, and his idols of gold, which they fashioned each one for himself to worship, for rats and for bats, to escape into the fissures of the strongholds, and into the fissures of the ragged confines, because of fear of the chief, and because of the address to desolate the proudly spoken, when he appeared to remove the dreaded husband. Leave you from among the tumultuous ones, whose anger is in his countenance, for hereby is he to be counted desolate. Zechariah chapter 6. And thou returned and brought forth my knowledge, and surely there came square teams from among the wise men. There came square teams from among the wise men, ranks of the pardon up. And the raised up were the pardon to desolate the enchanter. And the first team were red drivers, and the second team black drivers, and in the third team white drivers, and in the fourth team spotted and courageous. Then I spake and said to the angel that rehearsed to me, who are they, my master? And the angel answered and said to me, these are the squared minds of the pardon, which travel from standing before the chief of the upright husbandman. The black drivers, which are therein, travel forth into the northern places. Black drivers representing gangster disciples, GDs. These are prisoners that are coming out. They are going towards the northern region. And even though they are throughout the South, we know that the majority of the GDs and their strongholds are in the northern region. These are the GDs. It says the black drivers, which are therein, travel forth into the northern places, and the white depart with them. And the spotted travel through the westward places. Who are the spotted? A mixture of all the affiliations. MS-13s, Mexican Mafia, GDs, Crips, Bloods, Pyrus, you name them. I will get them to hunt. and we will hunt. And the courageous went forth and sought out the impudent traveler, that they might pursue the impudent and the pervert of the husbandry. And he said, depart you at any time, purge the impudent and the pervert of the husbandry. So they pursued the impudent and the pervert of the husbandry. Then announced he to me and declared to me, saying, take heed. They that travel toward the northern places have settled my mind concerning the northern places. And the command of Yah came to me, saying, take of them of the prisoners, even of the aged, of the ready, of the familiar friend, which are come from among the confounded, and depart you the same day, and enter into a prison for a chief Levite now hidden. Then take silver and gold, and fashion diadems, and set them upon the captains for the rescued Levite now justified, a chief priest. And speak to him, saying, this declare the sovereign of the secret courts, avouching, take heed the anointed one, whose appellation is the chief. And he shall move him to minister because of his laws. And he shall build the temple of Yah. And he shall receive the honor. Even he shall build the temple of Yah. And he shall sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be a chief ruler upon his throne. And the counsel of the friendly shall be among them altogether. And the diadem shall be for a bind, and for the ready, and for the kinsman, and for the besought worthy of the chief, as a memorial for the families of the chief. And they that are far off shall come and set up the temple of Yah. And you shall acknowledge that the sovereign of the sacred courts have sent me to you. And this shall come to pass, and you shall diligently obey the proclamation of Yah thy sovereign. So many others. Give me the Nothing like this one. I'll do this one. Isaiah chapter 52. And this is for my prisoners once again. All of it is. All for my honorable brothers, but especially for all my brothers that's incarcerated. This is Isaiah chapter 52. Awaken, stir up self, render by all means thy ministry, O overseer. Put in execution by all means thy fair judgment, O teacher, the favored master. From henceforth, there shall no female kindred come before you, exposed and mistress. Consecrate thyself by reason of the prison. Stand firm and lay unto charge the humble, O teacher. Strengthen thyself by reason of the prisoners to desolate thy stiff neck, O imprisoned chief of the overseer. For this declare Yah, you have ruined yourselves for nothing, but you shall be released without money. For this declare Yah the sovereign, my assemblage went westward to serve with one mind the adversary by lodging there, and the successful oppress their own without reason. Now therefore, who have I to send with commandment, seeing my worthy are taken away prisoners by reason of the unrighteous? They that detain them cause them to yell about Yah. And my charge to behave self continually each day is blasphemy. Therefore, my worthy shall acknowledge my authority. Therefore, they shall comprehend at that time that it is I who do speak. Behold, it is I. How good of a sight among the honorable men are the captains of him that lay unto charge a good proclamation, that certainly make amends, that render a good doctrine of recompense, that declare salvation, that publish in truthfulness, that patrimony reign. Thy guard shall desire to bring forth the proclamation. Concerning the proclamation altogether, they shall celebrate. For they shall approve the knowledge of the humble. For Yah shall render henceforth victory. Break forth with the battle cry. Celebrate together, you oppressed families that make amends. For Yah has avenged his patrimony. He has delivered the teacher. Yah has composed to avenge his dedicated armed men in the presence of Teman chiefs. And all the upright of the husbandry shall approve the help of our chief. Behave you, endure you, depart you out cheerfully with whomsoever. Join you no infamous teacher. Depart you from among the stiff-necked of them. Be you upright that guard the instrument of Yah. For you shall not depart out in fear, nor depart out in hasty flight. For the elder shall depart after you. The sovereign of Israel shall be your rear guard. Consider, my husbandman shall serve wisely. He shall be pardoned and praised, and become committed to desolate the arrogant, to render sure the elders altogether were in consternation because of you. Your own countenance stood out like unto disfigurement more than the discontented chief, and his impudent more than the worthy of the patrimony. Therefore shall he scatter the tumultuous chiefs. The sovereigns shall withhold their word because of him. For that which hath been disclosed, they shall surely take heed. And that which they have not marked well shall they impute themselves to excel. This is Ezekiel, and if I'm not mistaken, this is Ezekiel. It seems like all of chapter 5. And it says, moreover, the word of Yah came to me commanding, anointed one of the patrimony, confirm thy knowledge against the lifted up, become afraid, and prophesy against him, and say against him, this declare Yah the sovereign, surely, O lofty, become afraid, I am against you, and I will stretch forth my ministry against you, and I will render you cut off. I will make thy masters to be expelled, and you shall be stupefied. And you shall know that I am Yah, because you have altogether concealed hatred, and have ordered the death of the kindred of Israel by reason of the violence of the murder cry at the time of their misfortune, on the day that their trouble had an end. Therefore, as I live, promised Yah the sovereign, I will hold you for death, and death shall pursue you. Since you have not hated bloodshed, even death shall pursue you. In like manner will I make the lifted up become afraid, the lofty ruin, and cut off from him them that hasten away after, and him that convert. And I will gather his pardon against his profane chief men, against thy hills, and according to thy tablets, and by reason of all thy watercourses shall they be judged, that are put to death with the cutting instrument. And I will render you a perpetual wonder, and thy cities shall not rescue you. And you shall know that I am Yah, because you have thought, these agitated people and these troubled regions shall be mine, and I will seize it. Moreover, if the Lord stand out there, therefore, as I live, promised Yah the sovereign, I will even act according to thine indignation, and according to thine zeal, which you have used in thy hostility against them. And I will make myself known, against you when I have judged you. And you shall know that I am Yah, and that I have witnessed all thy blasphemies which you have spoken against the honorable men of Israel, thinking they are rendered desolate. They are given us to destroy. In like manner, through your word have you boasted against me, and have increased your acts against me. I have witnessed them. This promised Yah the sovereign. When the upright families rejoice, and I will render you desolate, as you did rejoice over the disinherited of the families of Israel, because they were ruined, so will I do to you. You shall be a ruin, O lifted up, become afraid, and everyone to show blood, even the lodge of the same, and they shall know that I am Yah. Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 through 4, verses 20 through 21, and verses 23. No, excuse me. That'll just be Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 through 14 and verses 20 through 21. The ministry of Yah is within me, and led me forth by reason of divine intellect, and restored me to bless altogether the carpenters of the family which were upright that bind fast, and caused me to cut off for them round about. And certainly there were many honorable men among the conceited family, and surely they were very confounded. And he said to me, anointed one of the patrimony, can these same live? And I answered, O Yah Almighty, you know. Again he said to me, prophesy to these same, and say to them, O you ruined lives, hear the judgment of Yah. This declared Yah the sovereign concerning these same. Take heed, I will cause vitality to enter into you, and you shall live. And I will bring a crowd to recover you, and will bring forth kindred to restore you, and set up you to announce good tidings. Command Yah. And as I prophesied, to announce good tidings, and give a tablet to you, and you shall nourish up, and you shall know that I am Yah. So as I prophesied, as I was commanded, and when I prophesied, that was a proclamation, and certainly a consoling, and that which was spared came together, and redeemed with his bind. And when I looked, surely a crowd and the kindred by blood came forth to recover them, and the cheerful protected them after, and there was no discontented among them. Then he said to me, prophesy to make of quick understanding. Prophesy anointed one of the patrimony, and say to the accepted, this declared Yah the sovereign. Come from the squared minds, O divine inspiration, and breathe upon these desolate, so that they may nourish up. So I prophesied as he commanded, and divine inspiration came to them, and they lived and stood firm hereafter with their captains, a very hardened band of men. Then he said to me, anointed one of the patrimony, these same, are the upright builders of Israel. Digressing here for a minute, this oracle is discerning those that are going to be cast out, because there are those that are among you, that you are honorable, and you have been led astray, and you are confined right now by what the chiefs have told you about all the lies. And some of you will join the chiefs on that day. But I tell you now, 2/3 of Israel shall be destroyed. Two-thirds of Israel shall be destroyed. Those of you who are with YISRAYL, I suggest you make yourselves known when the time comes, because what I know that happened to my family in the tablets, what I know that these chiefs of Israel have done because of my tablets and have stolen my tablets, all the things that I know they have done, that they know not that I have done, and that they never let you know about. For all of that, I can't show no mercy. I'll be a sucker. I'll be a sucker to let the people who brought bloodshed against my family live, and to know that they are plotting for my life at this very moment, probably watching the podcast together, knowing that they are plotting for my life, knowing that I will show no mercy. So you can come and take my life when you please, or do whatever you got to do. But no, when the day comes, it will be recompense. I will show no mercy, because mercy wasn't shown to me. I wasn't even allowed to my mama's funeral because of the crimes that I committed, when people are doing life sentences and were allowed out for days to see their people buried. But because of the people that I so-called robbed, these hills of the tablet. No, mind you, that I was accused of robbing a hill. There were hills working at the police station that night. There were hills that were stole my tablets. There was a hill called Hill Temple back in the late 60s that was involved in the slanderous It was the people had to came in and break it up. It was called Hill Temple. It was a Hebrew Israelite temple in the late 60s. Ask your grandfathers about it. And it was broken up because it was involved in a big scandal. Child molestation, bondage, servitude. How do I know this? Because my mother's uncle was a shepherd, assistant shepherd at that temple called Hill Temple. My mother's name is Faye Clark Jackson. For those out there that are listening, if you are Clark and you are riding with the enemy, then brothers, I'm sorry, because I know that when they stole my tablets, they investigated just who my family was. And it seems that my family stayed quiet and watched them exterminate my family slowly and haven't said a word. Just sat back and watched. And I have a lot of family in Waycross that are in the lodges. And I know that this, and they have this. Listen to what I'm telling you. Because of what you have done, Hill Temple, and my mother was there, and I had aunts there from my father's side, and they came to get their sisters. The person over that temple was named Albert Hill. You may know him in Waycross as Bishop Hill. I don't know if he passed or not, but he was over the Firstborn Church of the Living God. This was in the late 60s, and it was involved in a big scandal, and my mother was there. She was 18 at the time. She graduated from Waycross and moved there with her uncle, and her uncle, George Clark, was the assistant shepherd of that temple. There are 4 brothers to my knowledge, and a sister. And those brothers are Clarence Clark, George Clark, Richard Clark, and Robert Clark. I know this for a fact. I talked to my mother before she passed, before the adversary targeted her. And I'm gonna keep it like that. And I have the tablets for it. I just don't have it all here. But know of a certainty. And guess what? You probably think, oh, he's gonna need witnesses. I have my witnesses. And you can bet that. I have them. I have them. They have already came forth, and you are doomed. Everyone who had something to do with it. All that in Hill Temple. Yes, I know about it. And how all of you scattered. Akron, Ohio, late 60s. A big scandal. The people came in and had to shut it down. You know where these Hebrew Israelites fled to? Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, Texas. And they are still in these places today. Open your eyes and see. Some probably fled to Philadelphia. Some probably even went to North Carolina. I don't know. But I know these places where they've been. And these are the same people that oppress my families. And guess what? All these were chiefs, and they were in the lodges at that time, and they are in the lodges today, and they are still carrying on with it. They are still doing it. And we are talking about 50, 60 years later, these same people. Is that a coincidence? Was my incarceration was happenstance? This is not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. It's just too much here. I've had the history from my family ever since my grandmother joined Firstborn Church back in the 50s. As a matter of fact, late 40s. And guess what? From stories I've heard recall, and just from things that I've seen, and just from things that I know, and from what I was told, I know that my family has been persecuted for this long. And I was a part of that persecution. And then when you found out the tablets, you just couldn't wait to steal them. But guess what? I know. And I know who my enemies are. I know. And I'm coming. This is David talking. And I'm coming. And I shall have plenty cutting instruments. And I wish I had my oracles that show you, that tell you how they are described. Razors and pricking teeth. I will flay you alive in the middle of the streets and leave you for dead, and come back, perfume your bodies, and burn them according to the law. Go back and listen to the old podcast, and you will hear him well. And I have the consent for everything that I have. And you know it's true. You stole my works. So you know if I'm reading it off to you, you know that I have the consent, because those works that you stole, I also consented them and had the proof for the translations, and you used them. So you must know that this has to be true, and that I'm not making this up. So let me continue. Then he said to me, anointed one of the patrimony, these same of the upright builders of Israel, certainly they thought our lives are destroyed and our hope is lost. We are cut off because of our chiefs. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this promise Yah the sovereign, consider, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come forth out of your graves and bring you out from the shame of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yah, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you forth out from your graves, and shall put my inspiration within you, and you shall nourish up, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I Yah have spoken it and performed it, declare Yah. And the carpenters whom you write shall be committed to thine ministry with their oven, and say to them, this declare Yah the sovereign, surely I will send for the worthy of YISRAYL from among the heathen, where they are departed, and I will gather them with every mason and bring them into their own land. So I will have security. I will have my worthy. And me and my worthy are going to do just what y'all told us to do. And that is bring judgment with the cutting instrument. And I just have so much enlightenment that I would like to share that I don't even know where to start. Because I love, this is what I love talking about. Numbers 23, 7 through 10, 19 through 24. And he brought, and I'm repeating this. This is all repeats from last podcast. This is Numbers 23, 7 through 10, 19.
Con, the brother froze up. Hey, brother. Hey.
A sovereign of the patrimony. Yes, sir.
You froze up for about a
sir.
good 10 seconds. Just go back like 10 seconds and start where you was at. I caught you just in time, brother. You know, you be in the spirit, my brother. You're in the spirit right now. You know what I'm saying?
This is rage. This is the spirit of y'all right now. It is exhibiting rage from what was done and for what I know they still out here doing. You understand? Understand, this is new to everybody else. It's not me. It's not new to me and the chiefs and those that know that these people were stealing my tablets. I have witnesses, and my tablets are spreading everywhere, especially what I brought out of prison. It's sitting comfortably. It's sitting safe. Everything that I need to bring them to damnation, I have it. I have it. Just on the heels, the tablet is over 100 pages. So this is Numbers 23, verses 7 through 10, 19 through 24. And he brought forth his parable and said, the waster, a sovereign of the patrimony, have cut off me from being elevated, and from the honorable men of the eastward builder, thinking translate, enlighten me restrain, moreover, translate to defame the chiefs. Understand, this waster, this sovereign of the patrimony, is the same one that cut me off from being elevated. How? Because when I was sending my works to his lodge, they were stealing it and keeping it to elevate themselves. So what was this sovereign thinking this whole while? What was he thinking? A sovereign of the patrimony have cut me off from being elevated, from the honorable men of the eastward builder, thinking, translate, enlighten me, restrain, moreover, translate and defame the chiefs. Yes, I'm going to defame the chiefs, and I'm going to defame you too, because you are the head, and I got to have it. For from among the chief men of the confined, I had a vision of him, and above the hills I presented him. Certainly, the assembly shall stand in awe together, and shall be accounted with the chiefs. Who can fabricate the tablets of the restrained, and recount therefore the squared families of YISRAYL? Let me die the death of the upright, and let my future posterity be like his. Yah is not a hypocrite that he should die, that he should lie, neither anointed one of the patrimony that he should repent. Have he said, and shall he not perform it? Or have he promised, and shall not perform it thoroughly? Take heed, I have confirmed the work to bless, and he has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He have not discerned iniquity among the restrained, neither have he foresaw perverseness in YISRAYL. Yah his sovereign is with him, and the battle cry of the sovereign is amongst them. Yah delivered them from the adversary, and they have, as it were, the strength of a wild bull. Surely there is no enchanter among the restrained, neither is there any witchcraft by YISRAYL. According to this process of time, it shall be thought of the restrained and of YISRAYL. What have Yah put into execution? Certainly, the worthy shall succeed hereafter as a great chief, and pay attention to have power himself like a patrimony chief. He shall not lie down to rest until he make war to desolate the robbers, and mingle the blood of the deadly wounded. Numbers chapter 24. And when Balaam perceived that it pleased Yah to bless YISRAYL, he hastened not at other times to trust the enchanters, meaning I didn't send no translations to them. I knew better. The last time I sent something to him, I already knew what it was. But he rendered his knowledge toward a robber. That is the water courses. And Balaam brought forth his knowledge and had a vision of YISRAYL, lodging in his tabernacles according to their tribes. And the inspiration of Yah came to him, and he brought forth his parable and pronounced. Balaam the son of Beor declared, and the chief whose knowledge have let go free has said, he have declared, who have understood the oracles of Yah, which perceive the vision of the Almighty, slipping into a trance, but having his knowledge disclosed. How beautiful are thy homes, O restrained, and thy lodges, O YISRAYL. According to the tablets are they spread forth. In like manner, the gardens near the stream shore. In like manner, the tree of line aloes, which the chief hath transplanted. In like manner, the cedar works made firm near the water springs. He shall place firmly the conceived seed of his drawn out, and his conceived seed shall be in many water courses. And his rule shall be higher placed than a god, and his kingdom shall be exalted. The sovereign delivered him forth from among the adversary. He have, as it were, the strength of a wild bull. He shall flay hereafter the chiefs, his enemies, and shall ruin their bodies, and destroy them along with his tumultuous ones. And he established worship himself to make atonement, and to render sure the honorable chief. Who shall rise up against him henceforth? Hereafter, blessed is he that bless you, and cursed is he that curse you. And the waster's anger was kindled against Balaam. He brought his fellowship all together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I intended you to destroy mine enemies, and certainly you have altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore, now escape you to thy dwelling place. I thought to exalt you over the honorable nobles, but surely Yah have kept you back from honor. And Balaam said to the waster, spake I not also to thy messengers, which you sent to me, saying, if Balak would offer me his palace full of silver and gold, I cannot go against the commandment of Yah, to execute either good things or bad of my own imagination. But what Yah command, that will I speak. Zechariah chapter 10. Inquire you of the revered teacher concerning the process of time of the future teachers. So the chief without fail purged out the enchanters, and give them an overflowing of fear upon every man surrounded by the pure. For the chiefs have taught lies, and the diviners have prophesied a lie, and have rehearsed false dreams, and comfort self in vain. Therefore they transgressed their customs as a flock. They became alarmed because there was no shepherd. Mine anger was kindled against the shepherd, and I punished the impudent. For the sovereigns of the sacred court have called to remembrance his flock, the house of Judah, and have established them as his favorite horse in a household encounter. From him come forth the cornerstone. From him come forth the cornerstone. Tear down there.
Brother, you froze again, brother. But This is controversial and deep biblical breakdown series. Brother
Calamity
YISRAYL.
to desolate the law jars with them. And the
Brother
riders with the
YISRAYL.
dry, I had not cast them off. For I, Yah, am thy sovereign, and will consent them.
Brother YISRAYL. This is controversial and deep biblical breakdown.
And they, yes,
Israel. Brother, can you hear me? You having a bad connection? You froze. But I think we can end it right here.
Yes.
And you can.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you get a real bad connection. For the last about minute or so. Do you want to continue this on the next episode? You froze. I'm gonna take that as a yes.
You can see on the next episode. I have a lot of.
Okay. Damn. Let me see. Can I get a question in here, man? Great job you was doing right there, man. This was very controversial and deep, man. You know, so this is what I want Israel to do. Bring out the controversial and deep stuff. Leave your comments, your questions. You know, don't get disrespectful, but challenge. But Michael Smith, when you was going over the sacred name of Yah, he was like, "Are there any, thus saith, in the law and prophets, instructing the nation of Israel in the last days to talk about the Son of Mary? Question mark. Why are they talking about Jesus? Question mark. So the brother was on here when you did the show, when you did the podcast show. Is Yeshua, aka Yahushua, from the tribe of Judah, Levi, and is it a second coming of him or another Messiah? So he's the same brother. I also seen him on Folk Israelites. Challenging him about the One West doctrine. Because we all come out of that One West doctrine, but we don't subscribe to that. Can you hear? Can you hear me, brother?
You can hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother. Can you hear me? All right, the brother having technical difficulties, but we're going to close this podcast off right here. The brother, once again, the brother YISRAYL came with the deep and controversial biblical breakdown series, and it's called The Sacred Name of Yah and the Misery in Israel, the Misery of Israel in Babylon, Part 2. But if you can hear me, the brother had asked once again, are there any thus saith in the law and prophets instructing the nation of Israel in the last days to talk about the Son of Mary? Why are we talking about Jesus? Because he watched your second podcast, so I guess he was saying, should we be talking about
the was his ministry? You know what, man? I got my. I probably could find it real fast, man, but I don't know. But it was several. Hey. It was several passages. Just keep going
now. Go ahead.
But
go ahead.
It's several passages. It's several passages. It's in the law. Now, what the law, what it does, it gives instruction. It tells you what you shall do and what you shall not do. On the basis of the indoctrination that Yahshua is a son of God, for example. Yah said, don't have no other deity before me. And you know what I'm saying? They say that Yahshua is, you know what I'm saying, God the Son. But when you look in the book of the prophets, Yah say, I am Yah. You know what I'm saying? There is none but me. I would not give my praise to graven image. I would not give my praise to others, nor my, you know what I'm saying, my glory to graven images. So when we keep those in mind in these passages, We know that any other indoctrination that's contrary to the law and to the prophets, a red flag should go up. See, Yahshua never taught that he was the Son of God. He said that he was the anointed one of the patrimony. But because we depend so much and rely so much on the Greek translations, how they are rendered, we just use those translations and run with it. But Yahshua, but Yah said in the book of Isaiah, he said, I am Yah. He said, that is my name. I am your Savior. You understand?
Oh,
In the books of the law. You know what I'm saying? When they're saying have no other. Yeah. But, and that's why I say a lot of people they teach on doctrines. And that is what Yahshua is basically is. It's an indoctrination, but and I'm not saying I don't disagree with the scriptures. I disagree with their interpretation and their teachings of how it's brought forth. That's it, because I have stuff in the Gospels and all of mine add up. I mean, it doesn't contradict. And like I say, Yahshua was of the tribe of Levi. And this, you know what I'm saying? And we know that in the law, it said that the Levites were given the priesthood as an everlasting ordinance. And this is thus said. You feel me? So if this is an everlasting ordinance, why would Yahshua be going in and out the temple? Nobody nobody at that time believed that Yahshua was the Messiah at that time for him to just give them leisure to have in and out the temple, you know what I'm saying, whenever he wanted to, at his leisure. He could not do that unless he was a chief priest. Or he, you know what I'm saying, Levite, that he belonged in the temple. And that's why Yahshua went to the temple, because he was of the tribe of Levi. Now, when you look at reading the book of Revelations 5, and other books of the prophet, you will see that a Messiah come from the seed of David, of the tribe of Judah. So if Yahshua was a Levite, how can the same Yahshua be this seed of David who they teach? It's a distortion. It's a falsehood. It's a distortion of doctrine, because from the beginning, their foundation is already messed up. They have built a foundation off of falsehood and lies. So it doesn't add up. Yahshua was a Levite, but the scriptures and the prophets speak that the seed of David supposed to be returned. So
I'm gonna let you break that down on another controversial and deep biblical breakdown series.
But we did that. But you know what I'm saying? We can go back over it. You know what I'm saying? And just try to review it more under a scope. Yeah.
He watched that series, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if he watched the whole thing, but he commented in there, you know what I'm saying? Because he had said that, basically what he's talking about right now, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. So, but
he wanted consent of the law to just show that, to condemn Yahshua, or not condemn Yahshua, but him being the Messiah returning.
Right, exactly. So,
but
Michael Smith, go back and check that out. You know what I'm saying? Go back and watch the whole thing. If you had got in, you came in late or whatever. The brother,
and I'll try to check the comments and send him some.
Okay, con. But I'm not gonna hold everybody up out there. You know what I'm saying? Once again, the brother YISRAYL brought the pain. He brought a controversial and deep biblical breakdown. Once again, it was called The Sacred Name of Yah and the Misery, not the mystery, but the misery of Israel in Babylon. And part 2. And he's going to do a part 3. You're going to see a part 3 mixed in with something else next episode. So tune in. The brother has controversial and deep biblical breakdown, and he's shaking up the Hebrew Israelite community. They don't know what to damn do. They like, hell, with them, if they don't agree with you, hell, you're bugged out. They don't know what the hell. So tune in to the brother. The brother is doing his thing. He's bringing his translations out to Israel from breaking down from the stronger coordinates from all the way down to the Hebrew, coming from a 33rd degree masonry concept, and it's controversial and deep. Yes, it is. So shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brother YISRAYL. Shalom to the good brothers out there, Ben Daweeb, Michael Smith, that boy Yashar, and Don Yehuda, and to the whole Israelite community. Shalom.
Shalom.